Act 1. The shadow and the silence. The cradle of dust. In the brutal depths of the dry season, the savanna dies a slow, golden death. The grass turns to brittle tinder, and waterholes shrink into cracked, muddy memories. Yet, in the suffocating heat of an earth-mound den, a lioness brings life into the world. The unnamed one. There is only one cub, a fragile pulse in a vast, indifferent wilderness. He is small enough to disappear entirely inside her shadow. She gives him no name. Names belong to a world outside. To her, he simply is, and she knows every heartbeat in his tiny chest. The paradise of the blind. For 6 weeks, universe begins and ends with her. Her deep, furnaced warmth. The steady rumble of her heart vibrating beneath his paws. The rough rasps of her tongue washing him in the pitch-black safety of the den. He is utterly, beautifully protected. Absolute ignorance. He does not yet know the cruel geometry of the plains.
He does not know what bone-deep hunger feels like, nor does he understand the cold terror of silence. He knows only her scent, milk, iron, and dust. The vanishing at dawn. At dawn on the 12th day, a streak of blood red cuts across the eastern horizon. She licks his forehead one last time, steps into the tall grass, and vanishes to hunt. This is the dance. She's always returned before the sun reaches its peak. The shift. The sun ascends, the shadows shrink. Midday passes, leaving a heat haze that warps the horizon. She does not return. Act 2. The edge of the abyss. Calling the wind. He waits at the threshold of the den, where her scent still lingers. He calls out, a frail, squeaking mew that is swallowed whole by the roaring savanna wind. He steps out onto the scorching dirt for the very first time, looking for a silhouette that isn't there. The realization of soundlessness. By late afternoon, the mews fade into desperate huffs, not because he has made peace with her absence, but because a dark instinct is blooming inside his small chest. He is beginning to understand, without a single word, that the silence in the air is permanent. The first monster. As the temperature plunges with the night, hunger arrives. It is not a gentle discomfort. It is a sharp, tearing claw inside his belly. It is the very first agony in his life that his mother's tongue cannot lick away. Scraps of life. Desperation sharpens his senses. He pounces clumsily on a crunching dung beetle. He tracks down a lone, dry grasshopper in the dust. This is not food for an apex predator. It is a pathetic feast, but it is a spark of energy, and a spark is all he needs to keep moving. Act 3. Shadows with teeth. The laughing ghosts. On the 4th night, the wind carries a stench of rot and copper. Hyenas. Koda smells them long before the yellow eyes pierce the dark. They do not hurry. They don't need to. They have learned over 10,000 generations that abandoned, tiny things always fall into their jaws eventually. The matriarch's gaze. The matriarch emerges from the shadows, stopping 30 meters away. She doesn't snarl. She doesn't rush. She simply stares, her heavy shoulders dripping with dry blood. Her utter stillness is infinitely more terrifying than a charge. The flight of an apex. Instinct violently snaps inside him. He runs, paws scrambling over sharp rocks, chest burning, lungs tearing on cold night air. He doesn't know he is fast. He doesn't know he is a lion. He only knows that tonight, adrenaline and instinct saved him from being crushed in a bite. The waiting death. By the 7th day, Koda hasn't swallowed a bite. His ribs push sharply against his dull fur. He collapses in the skeletal shadow of a dying acacia tree, motionless for hours. Above him, a pair of vultures drop down to a lower branch, heavy eyes fixed on his fading chest. Rebirth in the dust,
The sparks of rebellion. This is the precipice, the single, unforgiving moment that separates the dead from the living. He is too weak to hunt, too young to survive alone in a kingdom of giants. And yet, something primal deep within his blood violently refuses to surrender to the dust. Standing up. He tries to stand. His front legs buckle instantly. He tries a second time. His skull hits the dirt. On the third attempt, muscles screaming, he forces his legs to lock. He doesn't know why he fights to stand. He simply refuses to die lying down. The new hunt. He raises his head and catches a scent drifting over the heat waves. Not the sweet milk of his mother. Something thick, putrid, and rich. The smell of raw meat. The savage meal. In the high grass, a vulture's prize lies buried, the sun-baked, half-rotten spine of an antelope. Koda dives into it. He eats savagely, clumsily, growling at the flies, snapping at the air, tearing his gums on bone. It is desperate, lonely, and horrific. But it is blood. It is life. The new sleep. That night, for the very first time, he doesn't lift his head to call for her. The nursery is gone. He digs a shallow bed in the red dirt, tucks his tail around his nose, and drifts into a deep, dreamless sleep. Survivor. On the 12th day without her, he opens his eyes. He is thin, scarred, and covered in dirt. The savannah did not grant him mercy. It did not take pity on a baby. It simply tried to crush him, and failed. Koda steps out into the sunlight. He is no longer just a cub. He is the survivor.